I never thought I would one day sit down to write something like this. But here I am, sitting at the kitchen table, trying to put an entire life into words. If someone had shown me the future back when everything started, I would have laughed and said it sounded like cheap movie drama. But this isn't a movie. It's my life. When I met my daughter's father, I was still living in Columbus. I had just graduated from college and was working as a clerk in a 24-hour pharmacy. He was the kind of guy who could walk into any room cracking jokes, drawing attention, making everyone laugh. He used to call me the strongest girl in the room, said I was different from the others, that I had a mind and a heart. At the time, that melted me. We got married fast. In just a few months, I was living with him in a small, rundown apartment near a busy avenue. When I found out I was pregnant, it was during one of those shifts where I'd worked past midnight. My period was late, and I spent the whole day ignoring it, as if pretending it didn't exist would fix it. During my break, I bought the cheapest test on the shelf. I remember the cold bathroom floor, the silence of the middle of the night, and me staring at those little lines on the test thinking, well, everything just changed. The feeling wasn't just fear. It was also this strange joy, a sudden urge to protect someone I didn't even know yet. He got excited when I told him. He jumped off the couch, shouted, spun me in the middle of the room, said he was going to be the best dad in the world, that he would work double, that our daughter would have everything. He repeated that line so many times. She's gonna have everything. Pregnancy isn't a movie. It's nausea, exhaustion, back pain, fear, overdue power bills, and a bunch of people offering unsolicited advice. I kept working as much as I could, standing long hours in the pharmacy, listening to the same background music on repeat, bagging medications while my lower back burned. He still had a job back then, at a small tech office with fairly normal hours. The difference was, when he got home, his day ended. Mine didn't. I would get home later, often near 10 at night, and still had to think about dinner, laundry, trash, bills. If I mentioned it, he would say, "You're strong. You can handle it." He loved saying I could handle everything. I heard it as a compliment. Today I hear it as a warning. When our daughter was born, it was in a noisy hospital in Cleveland after a long, exhausting labor. I remember looking at that tiny little being with a squished little face, the first days at home, middle of the night cries, diapers, cracked nipples, broken sleep. Her father loved holding the baby when she was calm, well-fed, diaper changed. He'd walk around the living room with her, talking nonsense, taking photos. He was the fun dad, the one who shows up in pictures. I was the person behind the camera, with deep, dark circles and hair tied up any old way. I was the one who got up at night when she cried, the one ironing clothes while holding her, the one doing acrobatics to shower in 5 minutes. He said he needed to rest because his job was very stressful. And me? I didn't even want to think about how I was doing, because if I stopped long enough to think, I might fall apart. As my maternity leave was ending, I was so drained that the idea of going back to the pharmacy felt both like relief and cruelty. Relief because, at least there, I got an actual lunch break. Cruelty because I would have to leave my daughter with someone else so I could deal with customers complaining about medication prices. My plan was to ask my mom for help. She lived in a simpler neighborhood, but she was always the kind of woman who just gets things done. She agreed instantly, said she'd be happy to watch her granddaughter while I worked. His mother never even offered. I tried not to take it personally, but it hurt. When I told my daughter's father that I was going back to work, he immediately scowled, said he was against this culture of mothers abandoning their children to go make money. Those were his exact words. I was so shocked I only managed to say, "If I don't make money, who pays the rent?" He shrugged, irritated, and said he'd figure it out. I knew figure it out meant keep everything exactly the same. Him going to work, coming home, sitting on the couch, leaving everything else to me. But his salary alone wasn't enough. I went back to work. I left home with my daughter in her car seat, dropped her off at my mom's apartment and went back to the car with a tightness in my chest, holding back tears. At the pharmacy, I was the woman who smiled, asked if customers had a loyalty card, pointed to the vitamin aisle. At home, I was the mother who smelled like milk. And somewhere in there, I was still supposed to be a wife. At least that's what my ring said. In reality, I felt more like the employee of a messy household. I realized something was wrong when I caught a horrible flu, the kind that knocks you down. Body aches, fever, throat on fire. Even so, I woke in the middle of the night to get the baby, because her cries cut through my fever more than the pain did. I remember rocking her in my arms, eyes closed, leaning against the bedroom door, thinking, if I faint here, no one will notice. The next day, I finally worked up the courage to ask him to watch her for a bit so I could lie down. He grumbled, rolled his eyes, said he was tired, that he'd worked all day. I just said, "So have I." He was offended, as if I wasn't allowed to compare myself to him. We started a stupid argument that wasn't really about who was more tired. It was about him refusing to accept my exhaustion as real. In the end, he took the baby like he was doing me some historic favor. I went to the bedroom, lay down, and stared at the ceiling, unable to really sleep. My mind wouldn't stop. Diapers, bottles, laundry piles, the money running thin, everything that could go wrong. When our daughter was just a few months old, things got worse in a way I honestly didn't expect. Her father always felt like the world owed him something for trying hard, even though his effort was a joke. I remember perfectly the morning everything started to fall apart. He got a call from his boss while we were having coffee. I was trying to get our daughter to eat some baby food. He picked up, listened for about 30 seconds, then froze. "They fired me," he said, staring at nothing. The next few months were a nightmare. He stayed home, looking for a job, which meant playing video games for hours, getting up to grab snacks, and occasionally sending out a resume here and there, always complaining that no one values experienced professionals. Except his experience, well, wasn't much. I'd come home exhausted and find the living room exactly as I'd left it. The baby with a dirty diaper, red cheeks from crying. He'd say, "She wouldn't eat with me." I forgot to give her a bath. I got distracted. The irritation inside me felt like a pressure cooker ready to explode. Not long after, he came up with news. He wanted to take a business administration course, said he had a natural talent for leadership and would finally open his own business. I was changing our daughter's diaper when he told me, and I remember not even responding at first. I just thought, how the hell are we going to pay for this? His parents would pay for everything. They were thrilled about the idea, especially because they always saw me as the woman who ruined their son's potential. They never said it out loud, but I saw it in their eyes between the lines. I thanked them for the help, because that was my role in their family. Be polite and don't cause problems. During that time, while he studied, I did everything. He said I should quit my job because there's no reason for a mother to work when the father is studying to build a future. I almost laughed. "If I quit, what do we eat?" I asked. He answered totally serious, like he was revealing some profound truth. My parents would help. The months went by and he became obsessed with the course, bought expensive books, said motivational quotes out loud like he was in some documentary about overcoming adversity, started going out more, saying he needed to network, while I stayed home with our daughter, drowning in invisible work. When he finally opened his small business, a modest digital marketing consultancy, I genuinely tried to be happy for him. Deep down, I hoped it would bring him some emotional stability. Then he hired a new assistant, a freshly graduated girl, full of energy, with an overly cheerful voice. Her name was Vanessa. I remember the first time he mentioned her. He was fixing his crooked tie in the mirror and said, "Vanessa is really smart. She does things before I even ask." It's rare to find people like that. I felt a flicker of discomfort but tried to ignore it. Maybe it was just my insecurity. I was tired, overloaded, feeling unattractive. Some nights I lay in bed staring at the ceiling wondering when I had stopped being a woman and become just a problem solver. Little by little, her name started popping up too often. Vanessa handled that. Vanessa reminded me about the meeting. Vanessa said I should change the layout of the website. I'd answer, "That's good," without meaning it. And the strangest part? He started taking our daughter to the office sometimes. Said he wanted to spend more time with her, but the photos he sent were always of her with the assistant. The girl holding my child, smiling like she belonged in our family. Sometimes I looked at those pictures with a mix of jealousy, sadness, and a tiny bit of fear. Once, when I got home from work and the house was messier than usual, I asked why he hadn't at least done the basics. He snapped that he was mentally exhausted from dealing with business problems, and that I couldn't possibly understand that kind of pressure. I stayed quiet, because if I spoke, I would scream. The distance between us grew. I pretended everything was fine because I'd been taught that keeping the family together was what good women do. And meanwhile, the assistant's presence kept seeping into our lives in tiny, alarming ways. A different perfume on his shirt, a message arriving late at night that he brushed off as work-related, a laugh he let out on the couch while looking at his phone. I didn't want to admit something was wrong, so I kept telling myself, "You're tired. You're imagining things." But deep down, some part of me already knew. The first real suspicions didn't come from some shocking discovery. No spicy text messages, no lipstick on a collar. It was subtler. Little things stacking up until they formed a weight I couldn't ignore. One night, he said he would stay late at the office for an urgent project. I'd heard that excuse before, but this time when he came home, he had this strange smile, not a happy one. A relaxed one, too relaxed. The kind of smile people have when they spend time with someone who makes them feel special. I hadn't been that person in a long time. I tried to ask how his day went, but he deflected, said something vague, and went straight to the shower. The next day at work, a friend texted me saying she'd seen someone who looked just like him at a cafe downtown in Cleveland. He was with a really young woman, blonde hair tied back, looked like a trainee, she wrote. When she described the clothes, I knew it was him. When she described the girl, I knew it was the assistant. My stomach flipped. I finished my shift on autopilot. When I got home, he was sitting on the couch with our daughter on his lap, like the perfect picture of a devoted dad. He looked at me and said casually, "You got home early today?" I said, "Yes," and he smiled, like nothing was wrong. His natural ease gave me a certainty I didn't want. People who don't fear being caught are people who've already crossed lines a long time ago. The following weeks were filled with obvious lies, meetings that didn't exist, messages he hid too quickly, photos from the office with the assistant always just a little too close. I told myself I wouldn't make a scene without proof, but the problem was, I already had all the proof I needed inside me. One Saturday, my friend insisted I go to that cafe just to see with my own eyes. I resisted, then gave in. When we got there, I saw them through the window, sitting too close, leaning in, laughing like people sharing a private secret. She touched his hand. He didn't pull away. If anything, he leaned in. I felt anger. I felt sadness. I felt relief. And that was the worst part. Because the moment I saw them, a voice in me said, "At least now you know. I didn't go inside, didn't make a scene, didn't take photos." 2 days later, I decided to confront them. Both. No hidden conversations. No phone arguments. I wanted eyes meeting eyes. I invited the assistant, Vanessa, to dinner at our house. Told her I wanted to get to know her better. He found it weird, but agreed. Maybe he thought I was naive. Maybe he thought he could manipulate me. The house was clean, the table set, our daughter asleep in her room. When the doorbell rang, she came in smiling, nervous, holding a store-bought dessert. We sat. The food got cold. I didn't waste time. "I know about you two," I said, looking directly at her. Her expression collapsed. He went pale. He tried to deny, say I was overreacting, that it was in my head, but I cut him off. I saw. I don't need explanations. The assistant, Vanessa, with a trembling voice admitted it, said she didn't want it to happen, that it was complicated, that it just happened. I was so tired I couldn't even feel hatred, just a huge suffocating emptiness. Instead of apologizing, he blamed me. "You're never satisfied," he shouted. I looked at him and realized there was nothing left. Nothing to fight for. Nothing to fix. Nothing to rebuild. I stood up, went to the bedroom, grabbed 2 suitcases, filled them with my clothes, some of my daughter's things, whatever essentials fit. When he came into the room asking what I was doing, I answered with the coldest calm I've ever felt. Leaving. He tried to argue, said I was being dramatic, that we should talk it out, but there was nothing left to talk about. The cheating wasn't the only reason. I put our daughter in her car seat while she slept. I left the house without looking back, drove to my parents' place in a simple neighborhood in Akron. When I arrived, my mother opened the door without asking a single question. She just put her hand on my shoulder and said, "Come in." I stepped inside, and only then did I cry. Update 1. After that confrontation and my escape that night, everything unfolded almost mechanically. Lawyers, paperwork, meetings. I never imagined I would one day sit in a room and discuss how many hours per week I could see my own daughter. In the end, the agreement was this. I would have custody during the weekdays, Monday through Friday, and he would have full weekends. I accepted because I didn't have the strength to fight for more, and because deep down I believed that the stability of school days was better for her with me, and I needed to rebuild my life, and rebuilding requires space. I moved into a small apartment on the 3rd floor of an old building in Akron. I made a cute little corner for my daughter. She liked it at first. She liked helping organize her toys, playing on the rug while I cooked simple meals, rice, baked chicken, roasted vegetables. But slowly the dynamic started to change. Her father and the assistant, now officially dating, lived in a new house in a much nicer neighborhood than mine. He made a point to tell me he had managed to grow after the divorce. I heard it as, "I removed you from the equation and now I finally thrive." But I didn't say anything. The first time our daughter came back excited from their home, She must have been around 8. "Mommy, Vanessa took me to a restaurant where the burgers come with giant fries," she shouted, bursting into my apartment like she'd just come back from an overseas trip. I smiled, of course. "That's great, sweetheart. Did you have fun?" "A lot. And she said next time we're going to a theme park on the weekend. And maybe the zoo too." Meanwhile, I looked at my stove with a simple pot of pasta and my modest apartment. It wasn't envy. It was the feeling that I was losing ground. Like I was fighting something invisible, impossible. Every weekend she came back more enchanted, more stories, more photos, more expensive gifts, more subtle comparisons. "Mommy, why is our TV small? Theirs is huge." "Mommy," Vanessa said I have great taste and she said I'd look good in these kinds of clothes. "Mommy, why don't you buy this? Everybody has it." And I always answered patiently. Because here we prioritize other things. Because I can't buy everything. Because gifts aren't love. But to a child, love is the shiny thing, the new thing, the fun thing. And in her father's house, everything was fun. In mine, I was the mom reminding her about homework, schedules, bedtime, eating fruit instead of living off fast food. Over time, she preferred being there. During the weekdays, she'd ask if she could sleep just today at their house. I explained that it didn't work like that there was an agreement. She pouted, crossed her arms, turned away from me. When she reached preteen years, around 12, things got worse. Her language became sharper, harsher, a mini version of the same phrases her father used on me. One afternoon, she came home from school complaining about the food I had made. "Vanessa says people who eat right don't eat carb-heavy stuff like this." "Sweetheart, there's nothing wrong with tonight's dinner." She rolled her eyes. "You don't get it. At our house, we eat better." Our house. Those 2 words cut deeper than any insult. Another time, I was finishing a basket of folded clothes when she passed through the living room and said, without looking at me, "You should try to dress up a little more. Vanessa said it's good for women's self-esteem." I asked, trying not to shake, "Did she say that to you, or is that how you felt?" She shrugged. "Everybody sees it, Mom. No need to get defensive." Each time she came back from their place, she seemed a little more distant, a little harsher, a little more like the perfect stepmother. That's what I called Vanessa in my head. Not out of admiration, but because she had somehow taken the role without even trying. While I lost space in my own daughter's life, the small cruelties became routine. Comments about my body, my home, my job, how tired I looked. Sometimes I answered calmly. Other times the pain was so quick that I couldn't hide it. And she noticed. And somehow that made her even colder. As if it confirmed that I was inferior to the glamorous version of motherhood she saw on weekends. She was entering a phase where being cruel felt like part of her personality. Whose fault? Adolescence, maybe. Bad influence, probably. The silent rivalry she felt between me and the perfect stepmother. Definitely. I tried to compensate with affection, attention, presence. But every day, I felt myself being slowly pushed out of the place that should have always been mine. The perfect stepmother's pregnancy started like everything else in their life, like a butter commercial announcement. My daughter came back from a weekend glowing, holding a wrapped pregnancy test. Yes, they actually sent her home carrying that like it was adorable instead of deeply insensitive. "Mommy, Vanessa is pregnant, and not with just one baby. 2 boys," she said, spinning in the middle of the room like she was announcing the arrival of 2 princes. I stood there with a dish towel in my hand, feeling a mix of surprise, concern, and a strange emptiness I couldn't immediately name. The following months were an avalanche. She talked about the perfect stepmother like she was a celebrity, the perfect hair, the sophisticated clothes, how she knew everything about motherhood, as if only my experience was disposable. And then came the part that knocked the floor out from under me. My ex-husband called to let me know, in the tone of someone who had already decided everything, that they were renovating the basement into our daughter's new room. "It'll be great for her," he said. "She'll have privacy, her own space, and the babies will stay in the upstairs bedroom. It's more practical." I stayed silent for a few seconds. What I wanted to say was, "You're downgrading your own daughter to a basement because your wife needs space for her twins." But what came out was, "Does she want that?" "Of course she does," he replied, way too quickly. When she came back the following week, I confirmed what I already suspected. She didn't want it, her eyes were red, and when I pressed gently, she broke down. Vanessa said it's just for now, that they need the bigger room for the double cribs, and that I'm older now. "What do you think of it, sweetheart?" She shrugged, her voice small. "I don't want to stay in the basement. It smells like mold. They remodeled it, but it still feels like a basement. Did you tell them that? She shook her head. Vanessa said I need to be understanding because she's pregnant with 2, and that the family needs to stick together. That's when I realized something was really wrong. As the pregnancy advanced, the perfect stepmother started involving my daughter in everything, not as part of the family, but as an extension of her belly, baby shower shopping, name lists, decor decisions, even infant first aid classes she made my daughter watch. And when the twins were finally born, the transformation was complete. My daughter stopped being a daughter and became a helper. I tried to ask her how things were going, but she always answered with rehearsed lines. Helping is important. Vanessa says I'm very mature. I only watched them for a little bit. One Sunday, she arrived at my apartment so exhausted she fell asleep on the couch without even taking off her shoes. She was 13, and already looked as tired as I had been at my lowest. I tried talking to her father. I called, tried being diplomatic. He responded like always. You're exaggerating. Helping her baby brothers builds responsibility. You create drama about everything. And when I said it was unfair she'd been pushed into the basement, he laughed. She has privacy. At your place, she doesn't even have room for a decent closet. I didn't answer. The aesthetic pressure became even worse. The perfect stepmother was obsessed with image. Everything about her was calculated to perfection, and she started feeding that logic into my daughter's head. Vanessa says I need to learn how to dress better. She knows about those things. You don't care about fashion, Mom. The way she said that, it wasn't just criticism, it was shame. Shame of me. Shame of having a mom without a big house, a big TV, a big closet. And little by little, my daughter was being shaped, and I could already feel something much bigger and much crueler was coming. One day, she arrived at my apartment bringing a silence I knew well. She dropped her backpack in a corner, didn't ask for a snack, didn't talk about school. She just wandered around the room, fidgeting with her fingers, taking deep breaths. Mom, I need to tell you something really serious, she said without looking at me. Go ahead, sweetheart. Vanessa wants to adopt me, and I want you to sign. I stared at her like I hadn't understood, but I understood. Adopt? What do you mean adopted? She finally looked at me. Her gaze was hard, trained, almost rehearsed. She loves me. She gets me. And I want to have the same last name as my brothers. I want a complete family. Complete family. I'm your mother. I've taken care of you since the very first day. I know, she said quickly, impatient. But that doesn't change what I want now. The cruel part was, she truly believed what she was saying was logical, reasonable, even kind. I tried to explain, tried to tell her adoption wasn't like changing clothes, that it wasn't just a paper, that it meant something bigger, something I didn't even have words for. She sighed, irritated, like I was complicating something simple. Mom, please, don't make this harder. Vanessa said you'd understand. She said real mothers want what's best for their children. Real mothers. That was the final stab. I don't remember exactly what I said after that. I remember looking at my own daughter and, for the first time, not recognizing her. And I remember the thought that crossed my mind. Can I force someone to be my daughter? The answer came immediately, bitter. No. I said I needed a few days. She left relieved, like she had solved a paperwork issue. The following days were spent crying in the bathroom, anxiety attacks at work, and sleepless nights. When the day of the signatures arrived, I went like someone walking toward a funeral. At the office, the lawyer explained each clause as if he were discussing car insurance. My daughter was there, the perfect stepmother too, their hands almost touching, their faces relieved, happy. I signed. She left the room quickly, didn't hug me, didn't thank me, just said, "Thanks for doing the right thing." I went to the car and cried, the kind of uncontrollable crying you can't hold back. After that, she disappeared. Days became weeks. Weeks became months. I stopped eating properly. My mother insisted I go to therapy. I went, not believing it would help, and it helped a lot. That's when I met the man who is now my husband. He entered my life quietly, gently. He never tried to save me. He just listened. He helped me rebuild my career. We started a small business together. Nothing glamorous, but ours. Years later, we got married in a small ceremony with a few close friends and my parents. I didn't want a fancy dress or a big party. I wanted peace. I wanted a real chance to start fresh. And for the first time in a long time, I did. Update 2. My new husband. He was calm, patient, the kind of man who truly listens. We opened a small home maintenance business together. He handled the heavy repair work, and I took care of administrative things. calls, spreadsheets. It was simple, but it gave us stability. Our house was modest, with a small backyard, and for a long time, no one mentioned my daughter's name. Not me, not my mom, not my husband. Until one random afternoon, my phone rang from a number I didn't recognize. I answered thinking it was someone asking for an estimate. Hello? Mom? It's me. Years of absolute silence. Years where she didn't text, didn't call, didn't ask if I was alive. Hi, sweetheart. Sorry to call like this, she said. It's been a long time, I know. It's okay, I said. It's good to hear your voice. She told me she was living in another state, North Carolina, because her father and the perfect stepmother had moved there years earlier. She said she was working at a vet clinic, had adopted a dog, learned to cook healthy recipes like the perfect stepmother used to make. You sound like you're doing well, I said. She laughed awkwardly. I'm trying, you know. Life's busy. Very different from before. I didn't know what before meant to her. We talked for a few minutes about neutral topics, until she took a deep breath. Mom, I actually called because I'm getting married. Congratulations, sweetheart. Really, thank you, she said, but there was something in her voice. And I really wanted you around for this. I miss having you close. I miss you too, I said. I wish things had been different. Maybe they still can be, she said. For a moment, I let myself imagine it. Conversations, maybe seeing her again, maybe a second chance, but then she got too quiet. So, she said, clearing her throat, the wedding is going to be big. You know how it is. And it's really expensive. She continued. Vanessa and Dad helped a little, but not enough. I was thinking, maybe you could contribute too. It's important to have everyone be part of it, you know? A united family. She didn't call to reconnect. She didn't call because she missed me. She didn't call to rebuild anything. She called for money, nothing else. I stayed silent. How much are we talking about? I asked. She told me the amount, and I felt like I was hearing a number in another language. Absurd. Impossible. Almost indecent. I don't know if I can do that, I replied. She sighed, annoyed. Mom, I thought now that you're doing better in life, you could help. It's my wedding. That's all. As if it were nothing. As if I were some automatic forgiveness machine with a credit card attached. So, she pressed, impatient, and for the first time in years, I felt something inside me harden. Not anger, not hatred, a boundary I had never had the courage to set. I realized her call wasn't the beginning of a reconciliation, and I knew the worst was still coming. When I told her I wasn't sure I could help with that ridiculous amount, the silence on her end turned into something almost alive. It was calculation, expectation. Mom, it's my wedding. I thought you'd want to be part of it. I thought you'd want to be involved. I swallowed hard. I want to be part of it, I said honestly. But this isn't about money. She laughed. Short. Bitter. It's always about money, Mom. You're the one who came up with this whole story about being alone and abandoned. But look where you are now. Married, owning your own business. You could help if you wanted to. Sweetheart, I didn't come up with anything. You know what happened. Do I? She shot back sharply. What I know is that you left me. You signed the adoption papers. You gave me up. You asked for the adoption. You asked me to sign. I said, my voice shaky but firm. I didn't abandon you. I respected the choice you told me you needed to make. She went quiet for a second, but it wasn't reflection. A biological mother is still a mother, she snapped. And mothers help with their daughter's wedding, no matter what happened in the past. I almost laughed, from disbelief. You went years without talking to me. Years, sweetheart. Years when I didn't know if you were even alive. And now you call asking for money for a party? You're making everything dramatic. She exploded. Vanessa said you'd react like this. Always turning everything into a victim story, Vanessa said. Always her. Even now. This isn't about Vanessa, I said. This is about a boundary. A boundary? She repeated, mocking. A boundary would have been you fighting for me back then. You didn't fight. You let me go. So the least you could do now is support my wedding. It hit me like a punch. I remembered nights taking care of her alone. And I remembered something my therapist once told me. Something I had hated hearing at the time. You didn't lose your daughter. She drifted away under influence and circumstance. But you can't stop someone who wants to go. Now I understood. I'm not paying for your wedding, I said finally. I can be there as your mother if you want me there. But I'm not financing this event. Her silence came poisoned. So you haven't changed at all, she said. Still selfish. still playing the victim. And she hung up. The messages came minutes later. I should have known you wouldn't help. Even Vanessa thinks this is strange. You never gave me anything that mattered. Don't come to my wedding. You'll ruin the atmosphere. Don't bother trying to talk later. I read them all, one by one. My husband walked into the office and found me sitting there, frozen, holding my phone. He didn't ask anything. I cried, not from abandonment, from mourning. I was finally accepting that my daughter wasn't the same person I had raised. The person sending those messages was someone else. The next morning, I received 2 more messages. Shorter, harsher. Don't contact me again. Just let me live my life. And I replied, I always let you live your life. After that, I blocked her father, blocked the perfect stepmother, blocked anything tied to that dynamic that almost destroyed me. A few weeks later, my husband and I did something I never imagined doing. We reviewed our inheritance documents, insurance, beneficiaries, and I said, with a firmness that surprised even me, I don't want to leave her anything. Not after everything. Not after what I survived. And he just nodded. No judgment, no hypocritical speeches about blood ties. Sometimes surviving emotionally means accepting loss, accepting that some relationships never come back, accepting that loving someone doesn't guarantee they'll love you back. I lost my daughter, or maybe she lost me, but I know this. I survived.